So the next speaker is Dr. Digna Velez Edwards, the Division Director of Quantitative Services, the Director of the Women's Health Research, and a Professor of Obstetrics and Gynecology from the Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Dr. Velez.
Is it ready? Oh, here we go. Okay.
Play button.
There you go. So I thank you for the opportunity for allowing us to, if you can go back a slide, went forward. Allowing us to present to you our vision of Vice MPRINT 2.0. Our approach for this presentation was to give you an overview of what's working, what we're doing at Vanderbilt, talk to you a little bit about the roadblocks we've experienced, and talk about a few strategic areas that we think not only our site, but the network as a whole could work on that would really elevate the research we're doing. Okay. So to overview Vice MPRINT, okay, that went, you can go back one. Yeah, it's, okay, let's see.
Slides are advancing out of.
Yeah, it's advancing forward.
Yeah, no, they're advancing more quickly on the back screen. So
Yes, I'm trying to get back. Okay, if you can go back one slide. There. So this gives a broad overview of what we've been doing at Vanderbilt for Vice MPRINT. So Vice MPRINT's contributions to maternal and pediatric health research at Vanderbilt include both development and execution of important research projects. We have 2 funded projects at Vanderbilt, and supporting research projects at the Institute as part of our administrative core. We have a phenotyping core at Vanderbilt that supports both internal and external MPRINT research projects using new and exciting technologies such as machine learning, artificial intelligence, and natural language processing. Vice MPRINT also supports next generation maternal and pediatric researchers with our mentoring and financial support that we provide through the Precision Therapeutics Academy and the support pool. There it goes. Yep, got it. This schematic just summarizes the overarching focus of Vice MPRINT. For Project 1, we have a focus on pharmacogenetics in maternal and pediatric populations, where we leverage our existing biobank resources and our precision medicine resources we have at Vanderbilt. And for that study, we're doing a pharmacogenetic study looking at the impact of drug, gene, pharmacogenetics on pregnancy outcomes as well as pediatric outcomes, as well as assessing the knowledge of pharmacogenetics in these populations. For Project 2, we're working on a study looking at opioid use disorder in pregnant populations. As I mentioned, we have a phenotyping core, and we have our Precision Therapeutics Academy that is overseen by our administrative core. Diving deeper into our phenotyping core, this core was developed to not only work within Vanderbilt, but collaborate with the MPRINT Hub and work with other network sites. And it focuses on creating and validating phenotyping algorithms that are pertinent to maternal and pediatric precision therapeutics, assisting with replication of findings at other sites, and developing and sharing tools for MPRINT research. We provide support to MPRINT Hub projects to help determine how to share data with MPRINT, as well as non-MPRINT parties through work with the data sharing subcommittee. We also support submissions for opportunities and support pool funding as well, as projects get developed and individuals put applications together for funding for these pilot research projects. We also are involved in developing and disseminating tools for EHR therapeutics research. This includes developing algorithms for our specific projects 1 and 2, as well as preparing these projects for public dissemination. And we're also involved in the pediatric fee code project. The purpose of the PTA, which is what we call our Precision Therapeutics Academy, is to support training and mentorship of junior investigators. So we support pre-doctoral students, postdoctoral fellows, clinical fellows, and junior faculty in areas of research that are focused on maternal and pediatric disciplines through the Precision Therapeutics Academy. And our primary target for recruiting these investigators are through existing training grants that exist at Vanderbilt. So we're really trying to find those investigators at Vanderbilt who are in the early stages of developing projects, allow them to get access to resources to further develop our workforce at Vanderbilt doing this kind of research. In all of our successes that we've had, we've experienced quite a few roadblocks. And a lot of the roadblocks, I think, aren't just specific to Vanderbilt or MPRINT. A lot of these, I think, are experienced by any site that really shares data or resources across different institutions. And these have included administrative hurdles. For example, the length of time to finalize DUAs and MTAs have been pretty timely and creates some delay in starting or initiating projects across sites. Our training arm, we'd like the ability to implement it at other centers. There's also a general lack of awareness of MPRINT outside of our collaborative networks. So expanding that is one of the areas that we think we can invest a little more time in. We, as a group, discussed 3 potential areas for growth that we think both can build upon what we've done at Vanderbilt for our site, but also what we've done as a collaborative network. And these include these 3 areas that are in the areas of funding for projects, expanded cores and shared data resources, as well as expanded investment in early career investigators. With regards to funding for projects, we really believe that as a network, it'd be ideal if we can fund an additional project for each MPRINT site. Right now, we are funding 2 projects. If we can have another 3rd project funded, we really think that can elevate the types of research going on and the contributions to each site. We also thought that requiring and strongly encouraging collaboration with centers outside of MPRINT should be more intentionally required as part of the funding, both to increase visibility of the network and encourage networks to use MPRINT as a hub to promote maternal and pediatrics research. And we also, in aspirational goals, would love to have expanded number of MPRINT project funded sites, so more sites than our 2 primary sites. But I think has been discussed, I think today, there's also the potential to expand the cores and share data resources that are provided by MPRINT. So we propose expanding our EHR resources to support involvement with other centers. So expanding our ability and resources to be able to have our EHR core phenotyping engaging with other network projects and other centers. Continue to explore the possibility of sharing the mother-baby data, linked data with other centers. Expanding our cores even beyond our EHR core. I think people have discussed having design cores that can really help and guide investigators doing these kinds of research projects. I think that would be beneficial across many levels, from existing projects to those developing projects. Also, the development of biospecimen cores or expanded investment in existing data warehouses, which I know the MPRINT Hub has initiated some of these data warehouses where they're aggregating reproductive tissues and reproductive resources that can be used for this kind of research. And I think continued investment and expansion of those databases could be very beneficial, as well as cores that can help in data acquisition and tissue acquisition. And I also think there's quite a bit of an opportunity expanding on what we've done with the Precision Therapeutics Academy at Vanderbilt to expand an investment in early career investigators. So we thought there might be opportunities for the MPRINT Hub to expand what they're doing, because they're already doing quite a bit of activities related to early career investigators. But we thought more activities supported by MPRINT Hub across sites, such as maybe grant pacing workshops, mock study sections, works in progress meetings, opportunities for more engagement with program officers at meetings like this, and exploring models of engagement and training from KL2 and K-12 sites that many of these institutions already have to really recruit more investigators, but also get them more opportunities for launching their research in these areas. As well as more targeted funding for new investigators through specific funding that might be targeted in our support pool funds and other resources for early career investigators. And so we really believe with funding, MPRINT can continue to help advance the science, both at our institution and collaborating centers. And we are excited for all the future potential opportunities for MPRINT 2.0. And then.
Thank you. So are there comments from the panel members? Adria.
So Digna, I wanted to ask specifically about the training funding. And I'll start with you, and then I wanted to actually ask two of the panelists that are in networks besides ours, how they do it. But for example, at UCSD, I'm the PI of our T32 for clinical pharmacology. So that's been one way that we've gotten people in and then been able to have them integrated. What specific mechanisms have you used to support those? Because it's not through MPRINT. So how are you doing that?
Yeah, so we specifically put our call for announcements for recruiting for the Precision Therapeutics Academy across different departments. But we have a Birch K-12 site, which has brought several investigators to this mechanism, as well as other KL2 and K-12 mechanisms we have as part of our CTSA, where they're doing precision-focused research that really overlaps and intersects with what we're doing. And that has been pretty fruitful in bringing in investigators who are already doing maternal child health work and either developing new research or expanding their research questions to include precision therapeutics components.
And I'd love to hear from Sharon Nachman and Rachel Greenberg about through Impact and PTN about how you guys support and if it's integrated into your funding or if it's done through other mechanisms.
So before I answer that question, I had a different question. The Precision Therapeutic Academy, what we learned with COVID is that you don't have to be at the institution to learn something.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate that you have at Vanderbilt, it sounds like an interesting core set of lectures and workshops and things, but I'm trying to understand why is it stuck at the walls of Vanderbilt? And, one of the things we learned in the Impact Network, because we're so international, is that you can't have anything at one institution, that everything has to be online and accessible and visualized, and you can see it at 3 o'clock in the morning because your 3 o'clock in the morning and my 3 o'clock in the morning are never the same time anyway. So, we also at our network have a core set of lectures. We have early career investigator programs. We fund 3 to 4 per year. They're for 2 years. They get oversight. They have stat support through the network. So that kind of answers your question. But I want to say what bothers me the most is the incredible duplication of all of these functions. I can't imagine that the MFMU doesn't have the same part in their network about training. I can't imagine the neonate network doesn't have the same thing about training. And I want to kind of push this off to our NICHD colleagues to say, have you mapped out all of the networks and their training programs? And then do we have a library of that so that next time I don't have to invent that new statistic core set of 5 lectures? I can go to the mapping and say, oh, Vanderbilt has 5. They have their core stats lectures. They're online. Sign up, use my Impact password, whatever. And go sit through your lectures. And at the end, okay, you get your certificate, you pass those stats things. And, we've got that, whole data hub of all our international patient populations. Have a good time. Someone can use that. So I want to kind of push it back to our NICHT guys to say, can we please map out these training programs? Let's understand the strengths and weaknesses of all of them and use that overlap to make sure that we can pick from the menu what we need and send the correct student, I'm using that broadly, to the correct program to get those trainings so that we don't have to sit there and fish and go, oh gosh, we needed a pharmacogenomic training set of lectures. I don't have that. Oh my God, I have to reinvent it when you already have it. So part of me is saying we spend the money on the training. We fund these junior investigators. We've got the stats funding to help them with their projects. We've got the data management to help them download the data and understand the data. But is that the best use of my resources? And I suspect the right answer is maybe.
I'll let everybody else answer, but I just wanted to chime in, like amazing resources that exist that have been centralized are like sex as a biological variable resources that the Office of Research in Women's Health have set up. I think having centralized resources like that, because I completely agree, not having to duplicate effort, having the career development resources available and accessible would be ideal.
And it's more than that. We don't care when we have a junior investigator that submits a project to us. It doesn't have to be from any of our sites. It can be from any place. It doesn't matter. And our database is open access. As you heard earlier, if you get federal dollars, you should be transparent to every one of our studies, every one of our scheduled evaluations, you name it, the data, the samples in the repository is 100% open access. And anybody can submit to it. And the investigators that we fund are not from our sites. So that kind of tools, again, I want to defer to our NICHD colleagues to say, why can't we map those out?
So let me just add on to that. So the PTA is something I think we already know we'll do a little bit differently the next time. As you can imagine, there's really a broad spectrum of involvement. You know, it could be a predoctoral student or a junior faculty, and obviously every individual needs, you know, a different amount of resources available to them. So one of the reasons why it only exists at Vanderbilt is when we first wrote this, we thought it would be really important for us to identify a vice imprint faculty member that is going to be on their scholarship oversight committee, just to ensure that, you know, the project is appropriate for that specific individual. As we've kind of learned, we are doing a little bit of duplication of effort in terms of training resources. And I think now that we sort of see, you know, what is available at other sites and with NICHD, I think we can definitely streamline the training at least so that it's a little bit more shared and does not have to exist within any certain walls.
I'll make a note that we have an entire session tomorrow on training, and part of it is to tackle this very problem of what resources are available. How can we better collaborate with others? Because one thing we have noticed is, like with even our Imprint Hub webinars, some of them tend to repeat the CPTN webinars, and we also get feedback from our trainees about, I can't go to everything. And so, you know, what am I supposed to do? So I think streamlining is a great idea in trying to figure this out.
Just to respond to the questions that have been brought up from a PTN perspective, I think we've focused less on sort of webinars or resources, knowing about existing resources that are available, you know, through T32 programs and other resources that are, you know, with structured didactic knowledge. And I think while not part of our specific mandate, I think the folks that have been leading the network have always had an eye toward training and, you know, sustainability. And so from that perspective, we've done a lot from I guess, two facets. One is because we're doing a lot of studies and trials, there's an opportunity in sort of an apprenticeship model to have trainees be integrated into that process. I'm one of the such trainee that has kind of, I guess, moved up in the ranks of being someone who worked on protocols, helped review study documents and learn what it goes into a CRF during my training phase, and now you know, had developed that expertise. So that apprenticeship model, working on things from from the coordinating center perspective is something that we're working on expanding to other investigators at other sites as well, and working on a plan and a pilot to do that. In addition, I think because of the nature of what we do in generating data, and we generate a lot of data and opportunity for trainees to be able to work on projects and data. So I think in particular, our network of clinical pharmacology, like pharmacometrics groups from different centers who are working, one at Utah, one at UNC. We've had, examples of trainees who have been PhD students and worked on PTN studies to do the analyses that eventually get submitted to FDA, but then they've gone other places and then been someone who can continue to work on those projects. So expanding our network that way, giving people the opportunity to learn from the data, but also be working toward the end product. So I think data and apprenticeships and kind of building the network is sort of what we focused on so far.
You want to take the lead on the NICHD side? So I can speak to some things that we're doing. Obviously, the DASH and the data sharing and expanding that to include tools of how to do to look at the data. So that's part of the Office of Data Sharing and Policy that we have, and that's being developed. So from that component, there's more of a process of how to look at the data and what tools are available for you to look at the data and the biospecimens that are there. I think it's a great idea to have a site for a repository of all the various trainings that the networks can put together. But I think it's a bit of a challenge because everything lives on the DCC sites for most of the networks. So it's to map out across the various data coordinating centers that we have and that we support. It's a bit of a challenge, but I think it's potentially doable. I know we're doing that for the improved centers of excellence, and Anna's here for that. So we do have a shared website that's a public website that has a calendar of the various trainings that are available, and that's accessible to everybody. And then there is a sort of a private collaboration for the PIs within the centers so that they have access to their own site. But anything that's a training is available to everybody and based on a calendar, and they're usually shared. And so the two hubs of expertise that we have in those centers are implementation science research and the data innovation hub. And those are the two hubs that have publicly available resources for anyone.
I forgot one thing that I'd like to add to what I said is around growth and education of individuals at sites, recruiting participants to studies, both on the the coordinator staff level and also on the faculty level. We have a lot of because it's an open network, a lot of junior investigators that we are first time PIs of studies. And so there's a lot of education along the way as well to, hopefully, not only further their careers, but also further their knowledge of how to engage in this type of research.
So in the interest of time, I'm wondering if we should call that's
I'm sorry, Robert. Can I make just a quick comment? I was taking notes over there, and I think these are all great. I know we have a session tomorrow on training, so I'll keep my comments brief. Sharon, thank you so much. The duplication of resources, but I think tools are only as good as the people that are using them, right? So we can have a calendar available, we can have these tools listed, but we need to make sure that we aren't duplicating efforts. I'll give you an example. Captain, which is a clinical pharmacology training network, we interface with MPRINT for the lecture series. So we make sure we're not doing a similar lecture series. If there's a topic that MPRINT is already taking over, we send our trainees that way. So that way we can use our time and effort towards a different topic. So I would encourage the networks to, we can definitely think about a tool to make the or improve visibility, but I would also encourage like talk amongst ourselves so that we're not duplicating efforts. So.
And when I think about duplicating efforts, everything costs money. Our time is valuable and it costs money. And it's more than duplicating. It's also recognizing the gaps. So it's nice that we all have lectures for the postdocs, but are we lecturing to the study staff at the sites? And so the answer is, that was one of the gaps that we identified. And then we developed a lecture series that's available online for study staff, study coordinators, IRB submitters, the whole 9 yards that, again, you sign on, you log on, you can watch it at 3:00 in the morning. It doesn't matter. So I think part of the exercise has to be not only understanding the resources for each of the NICHD funded networks, but also understand, do a SWOT analysis to see what's missing, so that we don't just keep saying, oh, we all have the same things, we're great, but no one has the stuff we don't have.
Thank you, Sharon. With that, thank you.